La Caricature was a satirical weekly published French periodical that was distributed in Paris between 1830 and 1843 during the July Monarchy. Its cartoons repeatedly attacked King Louis Philippe, whom it typically depicted as a pear. La Caricature morale, politique et littéraire was published from 1830 to 1843. Auguste Audibert was editor and Charles Philippon, 1800-61, was director and main author. Honoré de Balzac and Louis Desnoyers assisted Philippon in writing some of the magazine's issues. Primary artists were Honoré Donnet and Jean-Ignace Isidore Gerard Granville, with caricature contributions from many artists including Henry Monnier, Alexander Decamps, Auguste Raffet, Paul Gavarni, Achille de Viria, Auguste Desparade, Eugene Forest, Benjamin Roubaud. The journal was founded after the censorship laws had been relaxed following the July Revolution of 1830, in which Louis Philippe came to power. It covered both politics and art. 251 issues appeared between 1830 and 1835, each of 4 pages, with 2 or 3 lithographs. Philippon was the owner of the largest printing house in Paris, equipped with lithographic presses, and used them to print La Caricature and Le Chiffre, another illustrated paper. He drew together a group of skilled artists who mostly worked for these 2 papers, through which they attacked the king and the system of government with growing violence. The major contributors were Honoré Donnet, 1808-79, and Jean-Ignace Isidore Gerard Granville, 1803-47, but there were many others. For example, a caricature by Jules David appeared in La Caricature of May 31, 1831. The king is depicted as an illusionist who uses the juste milieu and some poudre and non-intervention to make liberty and revolution vanish. In 1830-31 there were revolutionary uprisings in Italy. The Austrians intervened to suppress the revolts, and the French did nothing to prevent them. The Pope broke his promise to grant the rebels in the Papal States an amnesty. La Caricature published a cartoon that showed the Pope on his throne surrounded by corpses. Similarly, Philippon published cartoons that associated the French government with that of Tsar Nicholas I when Russia suppressed a revolt in Poland. The fall of Warsaw was announced by Horace Sebastiani, the French foreign minister, as L'ordre règne à Varsovie, order reigns in Warsaw. The phrase was used as a caption for one of the cartoons. The journal became increasingly vocal in its opposition to Louis Philippe, and was seized more than 12 times. The publishers were prosecuted, and Philippon was jailed for a year. In 1835 the government passed legislation that forced La Caricature to cease publication. The journal began publication again in 1838 and continued until 1843. Writing in 1840, William Makepeace Thackeray talked of the curious contest between the state and M. Philippon's little army. Thackeray wrote, "Half a dozen poor artists on the one side, and His Majesty Louis Philippe, his august family, and the numberless placemen and supporters of his monarchy, on the other. The King of the French suffered so much, his ministers were so mercilessly ridiculed, his family and his own remarkable figure drawn with such odious and grotesque resemblance, in fanciful attitudes, circumstances, and disguises, so ludicrously mean, and so often appropriate, that the king was obliged to descend into the lists and battle his ridiculous enemies in form." Drawings and lithographies were contributed by the following artists, among others. Some of the authors of articles were